And online. It's great to be here at this nice event with Ace Exchange. So thank you for all the partners and for everyone here putting on the event. It's great to have the first Cardano community meetup in 2023. So my name is Jeremy Furster. I'm Global Head of Enterprise at Cardano Foundation. And I live in Taiwan, so I've been here for 12 years. And just want to share some general highlights, kind of presenting the idea of what Cardano is. And as the idea is to have monthly meetups, I'm happy to share more detailed information at future talks. So I think most people here, we already know this idea of a scalability trilemma. And most of the time why that's important, when we think about not just Cardano, but now we have the world of Solana, of Polkadot, of Avalanche, of Ethereum, of Bitcoin, Hyperledger, and the list goes on and on about blockchain technology. And so what is blockchain technology? And what does that mean for financial systems, and what does that mean for digital assets? And a lot of the times when I think about the trilemma, everyone first thinks about, okay, we need to have something that's very secure, and then most people want to compete on scalability or speed. And when I always think about an NFT, and if you want to buy an NFT on Facebook. And somebody laughed, I heard a little laugh. And usually the answer is no, I don't want to buy an NFT on Facebook. But that's very fast. You can have transactions per second of 6 trillion. Why not? Right? Well, it's not decentralized. So with decentralized, what we really think about is that ability to prove ownership, to have control over your assets, and your ability to contribute as an individual into a greater ecosystem that's not controlled by a centralized actor. But in the scalability trilemma, in Cardano, we think about which problem do we want to solve first. And that's kind of the general idea, is that you can have all three, but not building for it at the same time. And I don't know if this will switch to the slide. Yeah. So beyond the scalability trilemma, this other nice aspect to think about is, well, how do blockchains evolve? A lot of the times when we saw back in 2017, there was a new idea in Bitcoin, and then there was a new fork of Bitcoin. And that really did not help the idea of what Bitcoin actually represents as peer-to-peer currency. And not just that for governance, but also you think about features, you think about robust frameworks, you think about scaling in terms of how do we interact on blockchain technology. Is it going to be single transactions that's done one after another, or are we going to have parallel processing? Are we going to have complex transactions? Are we going to have the user experience, grow to a certain point to where it can get to a level of mass adoption? And then regulatory side of things is, well, what happens if we want to have public infrastructure but a compliance system sitting on top? And a lot of these questions has kind of gone into the thought process of Cardano, which, if you can just switch the slide for me, thank you. We think about Cardano as a financial and social system for value, identity, and governance. And, if you want to just go one more. I think about value, I think about, products. And identity, I think about features. And governance, I always think about processes. And we want to build complexity, but also keep a simple design. because the more simple it is to interact, then the more creative you can be. So yeah, just go to the next slide and keep going. Yeah, well, we'll kind of, I just want to put it here as kind of that general introduction of, Cardano is really kind of being set differently by saying, well, we want to have what's known as critical infrastructure. We want to do fun things, but also do things that are meaningful, that if you think about 10 years from now, which blockchain do you want people to use? And hopefully the idea is that Cardano will be here 10 years from now and still be a major player. So part of that is by, you don't have to switch any more slides. So instead of having one white paper, there's over 140 different research papers, which kind of sets the body of knowledge of Cardano. And these are all like predetermined technical specifications. So there's a lot of formal methods and formal specifications, which has gone into very different like subsystems that makes the Cardano blockchain. A blockchain is much more than just a node. It is a complex set of different systems that we've defined that as with the base layer, which is looking at network infrastructure. It's looking at things such as ADA reserves, the entire cryptocurrency itself, how that gets minted, how it gets distributed throughout the network, and et cetera, with looking at how a wallet functions in Explorer. We then have these different pillars. So you may have heard about Shelley, you may have heard Gauguin, you may know Bachot and Voltaire, but these are different eras that's talking about different parts of a blockchain ecosystem, where Shelley has been focused on participation. So running a stake pool is one thing about participation and decentralization. So who's operating the network? And Cardano is one of the most decentralized blockchains with over 3,000 stake pools. I think everyone here knows that Cardano is proof of stake. Yeah. So don't really need to dive into those details, but all proof of stakes are also different. And that's another big thing to think about, is that I don't think any two blockchains are the same proof of stake. So, it's very complicated when we think about comparing one blockchain to the next, but Cardano has been doing this based off of fair participation. So there's all these models that say, if you do something wrong, then we're going to slash you. We're going to take funds away from you. And I mean, those systems are great, I guess, that they work. But it's like, why should you hurt your user base? What did they do that was so wrong to take funds from them? So we don't have that kind of built into Cardano's proof of stake. But proof of stake then came online in June or July of 2020. So basically, a lot of the growth that we've seen on the ecosystem with these 3,000 pools have been here for the last 2.5 years. And also, basically the last 2 years was everything to do with Gauguin and utility. So how do you use the Cardano blockchain? And Cardano as a UTXO blockchain is a bit interesting, because with a UTXO, you basically set up within a transaction how you want to interact with the blockchain. Are you just adding transaction metadata as a record? Are you wanting to create an asset? Or are you wanting to create a smart contract? And the way that gets implemented is quite elegant in some ways. There's a lot of manual code that has been taken out of the process. So some of the issues that you would see like on Ethereum just does not exist on Cardano, for example. Another good part of that is always to talk about like deterministic fees. and deterministic transactions. So when you're creating a transaction on Cardano, we don't have a system known as failed transactions. I mean, theoretically, we might have one, but it's very rare that that circumstance would occur. And when we're thinking about then using a smart contract, you know, you have a lot of trust that if you want to interact and then you try, it will work. So that's good for that type of a journey. You know, if I go into governance, governance is really thinking about sustainability through the continual minting of ADA and then how that fuels the network. So part of that goes to staking rewards, and another side of that goes into an on-chain treasury, where ADA holders have a right to say, this is how the treasury gets used to fund the development of the ecosystem. Governance is also looking at application updates, it's looking at different standards, and it's looking at the further roadmap of Cardano. And knowing when you have a decentralized ecosystem that if you introduce some new part of a blockchain, everyone needs to adopt that new part. And that's not an easy process. But these are major considerations that we have when we really do want to go into scalability, which is where we're at now, and thinking about, you know, okay, if we have a new version of Plutus, will dApps update themselves to the newest version of Plutus? Because if no one uses that new version, then, you know, there's a problem. And if we have a new application standard, we want to ensure that all wallets and explorers will kind of adhere to that new standard. But yeah, I just want to kind of keep it very light and simple for this general framework and overview. So one of the nice things about myself at Cardano Foundation is that I get to see all participants in each vertical on a daily basis. So there isn't one discussion that I think is very much siloed. It's very much connected to one another. And today on Cardano, we have we always say we have over 1,000 projects building on Cardano, which is great. We have people in over 94 countries that are in the Cardano ecosystem. That's around 1.9 million active wallets in terms of who is staking to a pool. And these are all kind of industry leading numbers in terms of participation. So there's another side of Cardano which is really great, which is about just organic development. There's not much that we do which is very much paid to play or paying people to use Cardano. That kind of also goes against decentralization, and it goes against fair decision-making processes. So it's, while we're kind of being viewed in a bear market, in Cardano, all we continue to see is just continual growth of new users and new projects and new companies coming in, and having new discussions. So it's great to be here, and yeah, look forward to meeting more of you later on today.